Order. We start with questions to the Minister for Women and Equalities, Joe Platt.
Question number 1, Mr Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. With your permission, I will group this question with questions 3 and 10. The Government has set out an unprecedented mission to halve violence against women and girls within a decade, and we have already set out a number of transformative measures to overhaul the policing response to these terrible crimes. This includes announcing a £13 million investment into the new National Policing Centre for Violence Against Women and Girls and Public Protection, and we will publish the new Violence Against Women and Girls strategy before summer recess.
Joe Platt.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. So recent figures show sexual offences recorded by Greater Manchester Police have quadrupled since 2010, with the Wigan Borough seeing the most domestic abuse call-outs. While the depot trial in Wigan is welcome, more must be done to ensure women and girls are safe. So does the Minister agree that broader societal action is needed, and can she outline how the Government will work across departments, public services and local authorities to address this crisis?
I thank my honourable friend and absolutely agree with her. Myself and the Victims Minister chair the Violence Against Women and Girls Cross-Government Board that meets very regularly and has led to the Violence Against Women and Girls strategy. We also have, that sits within that, an expert group that helps us on policy that includes local government, the voluntary sector, the police and other members of civil society. She is absolutely right to say this will take everybody.
Jen Craft.
Speaker, a report by the Child Safeguarding Practice Review Panel in November found that focus on child sexual abuse in the home has been lost in the last 20 years, with key findings being systematic failings across the board to identify and respond to signs of child sexual abuse, an over-reliance on the criminal justice system, and crucially, that children's voices are not being heard. So can I ask the Minister on how she is ensuring that a focus on in-home child sexual abuse is built into the Government's Violence Against Women and Girls strategy, with children's voices at its heart?
I thank the Honourable Lady, and again in our work on the ICSA recommendations, working with Cabinet Office colleagues and colleagues across government, it has been vital to ensure that any strategy going forward includes support for victims, child victims, therapeutic support and others, to ensure that they feel that they can take part and take action and we can have justice.
Alison Taylor.
Mr Speaker, will the Minister please give consideration to women's safety in and around railway stations, particularly unmanned railway stations, as I have many in my constituency? Thank you.
I thank my honourable friend. Women travelling alone at night should not feel afraid, and yet many do. We are committed to the Safer Streets mission to halve violence against women and girls in the next decade, and will continue to work closely with the rail industry, including the British Transport Police, to do this. Some of the work being done includes a review of the Secure Stations scheme, which ensures train operators meet a set of standards for security at stations with the British Transport Police and rail industry. This includes measures which support personal safety.
Rebecca Smith.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My constituent Keith Lavelle was sexually abused at school and referred to as a number, not a name, during the investigations. He's been holding out for the redress scheme for victims of child sexual abuse and a written apology for the life-changing experiences he was subjected to. On behalf of Keith and many others in his situation, why has the Government reportedly scrapped the Conservative plans for a redress scheme in England and Wales?
I thank the Honourable Lady, and I pay tribute to her constituent and many others who came forward during the ICSA. But what I would like to tell him is that what I found when I got to office is there was absolutely no plan other than a sentence to say that they would do it around the redress scheme. And as I have updated this House on the ICSA recommendations very, very fully, that plan is still in train.
Kirsty Blackman.
Would the Minister agree to meet with me to discuss the issues faced by women with no recourse to public funds who are fleeing domestic violence and may not be eligible for support, for example, when it comes to housing, and therefore struggle to find refuge places? I would really appreciate a meeting to discuss this issue.
I would absolutely meet with the Honourable Lady to discuss those issues and say that the Migrant Victims of Domestic Abuse scheme does apply to all migrant victims regardless of their the visa that they are here in the country on, and should be providing that support, but I'm more than happy to meet with them.
Carla Lockhart.
Mr Speaker, the Minister is doing sterling work in this area, and she will know my passion for Northern Ireland to be utterly in step with the rest of the UK when it comes to protecting women and girls against violence. Would she therefore agree with me that Northern Ireland, be it in the authorities, organisations and employers, should be implement the recent Supreme Court ruling, and would she therefore join with me in calling on the Irish Football Association to be in step with the English and Scottish with regards to the protection of women on and off the pitch?
I thank the Honourable Lady and pay absolute tribute to her work, which I have seen directly in Northern Ireland on this issue. What I would say, as I'm sure anyone would say at this dispatch box, is that I would encourage always everybody to follow the laws in our country in step.
The Liberal Democrat spokesperson, Christine Jardine.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. 3 years after Baroness Kennedy's groundbreaking review into tackling misogyny in law, the SNP late on Friday said they would be scrapping their planned bill to tackle widespread misogyny and hatred against women. Plans to tackle misogynistic harassment, stirring up hatred, threatening or abusive communication to women, and an aggravated offence of misogyny, all scrapped in favour of a watered-down amendment to the Hate Crime Act. Women across the United Kingdom need action, reassurance that politicians are going to root out the attitudes that lead to hatred against them in public life. So if the SNP won't do it, will this government act to give women the support that they need?
The Honourable Lady makes a very impassioned point, and rooting out the exact reason why we end up with an epidemic of violence against women and girls in this country and all the nations of the United Kingdom will be an absolutely fundamental part of the violence against women and girls strategy. For too long, we have just sought to put bigger plasters on a problem rather than seeking to prevent the reasons why they happen.
Juliet Campbell.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. This government is clear that equality and opportunity are at the heart of our programme of national renewal and economic growth. The Opportunity Mission is all about creating a fairer Britain, giving every child the best start in life through our plan for change, building skills for the future and ultimately driving up household incomes. Just last month, we rolled out the first 750 new free breakfast clubs to give children the best start to their school day and families more choices at work.
Juliet.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Under the previous government, there has been an increase in inequality attainment gap, with lower performance in core subjects such as maths and science. Dyslexic and ADHD students in my constituency of Broxtowe have been further disadvantaged, compounded by delayed and misdiagnosis. Can the Minister outline what steps she is taking to support young people with dyslexia and ADHD to ensure that they succeed?
I'm grateful to my honourable friend for raising that important issue, which I know will be of concern to members right across this House. We know as a government that children with SEND all too often don't have the good outcomes in educational terms that we would all want for them. And it is really important that we do more to support neurodivergent children and young people, including those with dyslexia and ADHD. That's why we've established a neurodivergence task force, an expert group who will support us to deliver better mainstream inclusion, but also ensuring that we have more specialist provision for children who need it. And in order to strengthen the evidence base, we've also commissioned work from the University College London to look at the most effective tools and strategies to support children with a wide range of different needs.
We're a Hobart.
Speaker, my constituents in Bath repeatedly raised the lack of affordable childcare with me as a key factor driving the gender pay gap. To give families real choice in those crucial early months, will the government consider increasing paternity pay to 90% of earnings with a cap of higher earners?
The Honourable Lady will recognise that this government has expanded workers' rights and are making sure that new mums and dads are able to spend more precious time with their young families. Alongside that, as she says, it is also important that high-quality early years education and childcare is available for parents so that they have good work choices. And that's why, Mr Speaker, we have expanded childcare provision. We've also more than doubled the early years pupil premium and are rolling out new primary-based nurseries in schools across the country.
So the Select Committee, Sarah Owen.
Speaker. We all want to break down barriers to opportunity. However, it seems one sizable part of our workforce is being ignored: women. Women missing work due to endometriosis, ovarian cysts and other complications cost the economy £11 billion a year. Fixing this would save more than double the unpalatable proposed welfare cuts to disabled people. Does the Minister agree that improving women's health will break down a huge barrier to work? And if so, how is she working with other departments to fix this?
I agree with my honourable friend, the Chair of the Select Committee, and I pay tribute to her for all of her campaigning work in this important area around women's health, because we as a government do recognise the terrible impact that these conditions can have on women's ability to work and live their lives as they should. That's why we are committed to implementing the Women's Health Strategy as part of the 10-year plan. And also, I know that the Health Secretary is determined to bring down waiting lists that have all too often affected women, including with conditions like endometriosis. We're making progress, Mr Speaker. There is much more to do.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. East Sussex Hearing is a charity in Eastbourne that supports people with hearing disabilities, to break barriers to opportunity through life-changing hearing equipment and support. They're keen to work with the local hospital trust and ICB to take their services to more people. Will the Minister therefore back them in their efforts to engage with the trust and ICB to help bring their charitable services to more people with hearing disabilities in Eastbourne and beyond?
Mr Speaker, that sounds like a very sensible suggestion, sensible and constructive suggestion from the Honourable Gentleman. I'll make sure that the views of his constituents are shared with colleagues in the Department for Health and Social Care so that they can provide further advice on how might that best be taken forward.
Bob Black. Question number 4, Mr Speaker.
Minister.
This government is taking unprecedented action to improve the response to these heinous crimes, to get more perpetrators behind bars and to get justice for victims and survivors. We are increasing investment to the task force and every police force has been asked to review cases closed where no further action was taken. Arrests are increasing. We are expanding victims' rights to review. Crucially, we are introducing the new long-overdue mandatory reporting duties and the new statutory aggravating factor for grooming offences.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. In previous parliaments, the Housing, Communities and Local Government Select Committee did inquiries into both Rochdale and Rotherham, amongst other towns, where sex grooming has taken place. We now know that that's a nationwide problem. We heard from Dame Louise Casey, that there was a problem with Pakistani men and their culture, and also the victims being predominantly white girls who were in council care. The problem now is that this seems to be, as I say, a nationwide problem, and that we have evidence not only that council staff, councillors, social workers and possibly the police have been complicit or at least turned a blind eye to it. Given these circumstances, local inquiries are not going to be good enough. So will she now call for a national inquiry, judge-led, with witnesses being required to give evidence under oath, so those people that turned a blind eye can actually be brought to justice?
Just to answer the final point, national statutory inquiries don't actually send anyone to prison, just to be clear on that. And he mentions Dame Louise Casey, who is absolutely rightly in her work in Rotherham and others work in Rochdale. And the reason that we know about some of the terrible behaviours is because of those brilliant local inquiries undertaken in those towns. And Louise Casey is currently doing a national audit that will report shortly.
Mims Davis, Secretary of State.
Despite what the Prime Minister has said, speaking out for rape gang victims is not jumping on a far-right bandwagon. Yet yesterday it's reported that Number 10's interim spokesperson said it's obviously disappointing to see people weaponising rape gangs for political point scoring. Mr Speaker, I ask, how does this square with the harrowing personal testimony from Jade, Chantal, Scarlett, Erin and Steph in Anna Hall's Channel 4 documentary aired last week, where concerning questions continue about councils, police, schools, social workers and children's homes? In these reported up to 50 communities where vulnerable girls who are underage, exploited children were unbelievably labelled as promiscuous or child prostitutes.
The Honourable Lady points out the terrible things that have gone on historically and that continue to be a concern across our country, which is exactly why the government is investing in the task force which is working across the country with police forces to ensure that people can be arrested and girls can be kept safe. Arrests have gone up. Everybody thinks this issue is a terrible one. Absolutely everybody does. And I remind the Honourable Lady of a Prime Minister who she served as gladly served as a Women and Equalities Minister, who said looking into these historic cases was spaffing money up the wall.
Mims Davies.
You're in government now.
What an awful result.
As a child, Jade got a criminal record during her own abuse and exploitation, and now cannot attend her own children's school trips. Chantel rightly said, "We're not the problem, the men are the problem." Mr. Speaker, despite plenty of good women on the front bench, I have to ask, is this government simply more interested in protecting their own rather than staying true to their manifesto pledge?
Absolutely right.
Which says we will use every tool to target perpetrators. Yet Labour are turning their back, you can hear it, once again, with the leader of this House calling it dog whistle politics on national radio. So why won't this minister and her front bench commit to deliver a proper national statutory public inquiry and finally put victims first?
I will absolutely protect my own in this. And my own in this are the women in our country who for the last 14 years have had no efforts made. And people say terrible things, and the Leader of the House was right to apologise. I wonder how many of those on the opposite bench asked the former Prime Minister to apologise for saying that the exact girls that he was talking about, that their lives, and looking into them in an inquiry that already happened, that was statutory, was spaffing money up the walls. Where was the outrage?
Sonia Kumar.
Question number 5, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, a £250 billion boost could be added to the UK economy if women are given the same opportunity as men to start and scale their business. That's why it is a priority for this government to increase access to capital for women-led businesses, and that we continue to work, as the Chancellor has also outlined, on the Women's Business Council work, the Invest in Women's Task Force, and with supporting the FTSE Women Leaders programme. We have also backed the Invest in Women's Task Force, which launched an initial £255 million fund with a £50 million commitment from the British Business Bank to be invested via female investors into women-led businesses.
Mr. Speaker, for every £1 of equity funding, only 2p goes to fully female-funded businesses, a figure that has barely shifted in recent years, and that closing this gap could unlock up to £250 billion for the UK economy. Can the Minister outline what further steps the Department will take in collaboration with the Treasury, DBT, to address this persistent inequality and support female entrepreneurs for scaling their businesses?
Mr. Speaker, my honourable friend is right. For too long, innovative women-led start-ups have been held back due to a lack of finance, with the proportion of equity capital investment going to all female founder firms stuck at around 2% in the UK for the last decade.
Alongside the Invest in Women Task Force, the Department for Business and Trade is leading on the Investing in Women Code, working with finance providers to increase access to finance, resources and networks for women-led businesses. I want to see us use the talents of all business leaders to support female entrepreneurs, which is right not just for women, but for the whole economy.
I thank the Minister for her answer. Minister, in my constituency of Strangford, there are many women who have started their own businesses. There has been a problem. It's been getting access to the finance to actually make it happen. Venture capital will make that happen. To ensure that ladies and women have the same opportunities as men, just because they're a different sex doesn't mean they're any less able to do that job. Can the Minister ensure that the venture capital will be available in Northern Ireland for my ladies in Strangford, for my ladies and my women in Northern Ireland?
I thank the honourable gentleman for his question. The funding will be available to women-led businesses in his constituency, and it is absolutely right that we continue to support the work of the Women's Business Council and others to make sure that we are looking at all we can do to support women in businesses and to come forward to start their own enterprises.
Ollie Glover in Topicals.
Number one, Mr. Speaker.
Sarah Stay.
Mr. Speaker, this government is taking decisive action to deliver our plan to make work pay, putting more money back into people's pockets. The Office for Equality and Opportunity recently launched a public consultation on mandatory ethnicity and disability pay gap reporting and a call for evidence on other measures to improve security at work for everyone and to tackle unequal pay. We will work in partnership with business to deliver this government's plan for change.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Many constituents have written to me to express their concern on the recent UK Supreme Court ruling relating to the legal definition of a woman. It has left the already vulnerable members of the trans community feeling uncertain about how they will be able to go about living their day-to-day lives. What steps is the Minister taking to work with her colleagues in other departments to provide further guidance and clarity on what this judgment means in practice?
Mr. Speaker, you will know that I made a statement to this House setting out the government's position where we welcome the clarity of the Supreme Court ruling. I should also stress that, of course, everyone within our country deserves to be treated with dignity, respect and compassion, and trans people continue to enjoy protection from harassment and discrimination under the law. We are working with the EHRC on their code of practice, which they will set out in due course following consultation.
Blackman, Ali.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My right honourable friend will know of the growing concerns around social media algorithms increasingly promoting misogynistic and harmful content to children, particularly using the hook of dangerous online influencers. Can my right honourable friend advise what steps she is taking, working with Cabinet colleagues, to protect young people from such destructive influences?
I know my honourable friend raises a concern shared by many across this House and the crucial importance of rooting out misogyny, whether it's online or offline. I'm working with colleagues across government to tackle these dangerous attitudes. We are looking, for example, through the Department for Education at bringing forward updated RSHE guidance to make sure we can use that to prevent and tackle misogyny. But alongside that, I know that my colleague, the Science and Technology Secretary, is determined to go further and faster to make sure that children are protected online.
Shadow Minister Sakibati.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm a great believer that Britain is one of the greatest meritocracies in the world, where certainly, at least in our party, you can rise to the very top, irrespective of your race, your religion or your gender. The government's consultation on reforming equality law is a litany of activist demands and bureaucratic burdens with no proof that any of these measures will reduce inequality. So why is the government so determined to divide people into boxes on the basis of race instead of promoting equality of opportunity for all?
Mr. Speaker, this Labour government is determined to break the link between background and success. So where you are from does not determine what you are able to go on and achieve, and that everyone has the chance to get as far as their hard work and their talent will take them. We do believe it is important that we tackle some of the unacceptable gaps that we see around access to employment and pay for people from minority ethnic communities and also disabled people too. And that's why we are consulting on this, working with business, and we want to get this right.
Mr. Speaker, the Tories shamefully left the gender pay gap persistently high. Does the Secretary of State agree that Labour's childcare expansion, free breakfast clubs and new nurseries will drive up women's incomes and work choices because they are disproportionately more affected by caring responsibilities?
Mr. Speaker, I agree with my honourable friend. This Labour government is determined to make sure that all women have choices where it comes to balancing work and family life. Mr. Speaker, I agree with my honourable friend. This Labour government is determined to make sure that all women have choices where it comes to balancing work and family life. Mr. Speaker, I agree with my honourable friend. This Labour government is determined to make sure that all women have choices where it comes to balancing work and family life. Mr. Speaker, I agree with my honourable friend. This Labour government is determined to make sure that all women have choices where it comes to balancing work and family life. Mr. Speaker, I agree with my honourable friend. This Labour government is determined to make sure that all women have choices where it comes to balancing work and family life. Mr. Speaker, I agree with my honourable friend. This Labour government is determined to make sure that all women have choices where it comes to balancing work and family life. Mr. Speaker, I agree with my honourable friend. This Labour govern And that's why, Mr Speaker, we are expanding access to childcare through new free breakfast clubs, new primary-based nurseries, and I'm delighted that in my friend's constituency, his constituents will benefit from one of those new free breakfast clubs.
Perpetrators hanging around school, malicious contact with customers and rat poison being sent to my constituents' homes are all frightening experiences faced by victims of domestic abuse. But police responses are inconsistent even when perpetrators are on bail. What is the Minister doing to work with other departments to ensure everyone in the system, from call handlers to CPS workers, have training on the forms of non-violent abuse to make sure that children and women are protected?
I'm grateful to the Honourable Lady, who raises some incredibly important points and shines a light on the experiences of victims in her constituency. This government is determined to halve violence against women and girls. That's why, as my honourable friend the Minister set out earlier, we're taking a range of actions right across government. We, of course, are always happy to consider further areas where action is needed so that all women and girls are able to live free from abuse and intimidation within our society.
Dr Becky Cooper.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. This week we celebrate the International Day of Midwives. Midwives are an essential part of ending inequity in maternal health, delivering life-saving community-based care. Will the Minister please commit to working with the Minister for Health to ensure that our 10-year health strategy and NHS workforce plan puts in adequate resources into overstretched maternity units in many often deprived parts of our country?
Yes, I'm happy to give my honourable friend that commitment. I know how seriously the Health Secretary takes this issue because he knows, as I do, that too many women have been failed by poor maternal care, enduring traumatic experiences, and all women deserve safe, compassionate care in those very difficult, often quite difficult times that they can experience. That's why we are committed to training thousands more midwives, and through our NHS 10-year plan, we will ensure that there is equitable access right across the country for all women as they experience pregnancy and childbirth.